FPL Game Week 35 team selection. Game Week 34 isn't even over yet, with Nottingham Forest taking on Brentford later today, but Game Week 35 deadline is tomorrow evening, with Manchester City hosting Wolves. So in today's video, we'll be going through a review of how my free hit Game Week 34 went, current transfer plans, and my team selection for Game Week 35, including a talk on captaincy. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that like button and hit that subscribe, and let's get into it. What's up? It's FPL Vert, where arrows go green, and as you can see, we are currently on the green on the free hit. Yeah, can't get too excited though, because of course Game Week 34 has not reached its conclusion yet. We do have one more game left in Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. In other words, it's Wood versus MBEUMO, because I have Wood starting, and of course Brian MBEUMO is first on my bench, who just happens to be around 43% effective ownership. So if he gets any returns, my rank will go down, unless Wood of course steps in to stop that. So, but talking about the free hit, yeah, it's gone well. Of course, 9 points above my safety score is a great place to be, especially as the higher ranks you go, the more points you need for green. So happy with that, I guess. But it could have been a lot more, I can't lie. Of course, I've got Jose Sarr first on my bench. He got 12 points because he saved Jamie Vardy's penalty. I mean, you expect the narratives, like, when Vardy's just announced that he's going to be leaving the club, you're expecting him to slot away that penalty. But no, Jose Sarr saves the penalty. So that's 12 points right there that we've lost out on. Well, 6 points that we've lost out on because Pope kept his clean sheet also. Then Cucurella as well, massive disappointment. Of course, I expected him to be a bit more attacking. He actually could have had an assist if Jackson wasn't offside, but that's fine. Of course, the main reason I'm hurting is because I didn't have Trippier. I can't say I did really consider him, I guess. I did have Share in my first free hit draft, but probably should have just gone for Trippier, seeing that he is such a good set piece taker. And of course, it could have been a lot worse because Ryan Sessegnon not only started at left back because Anthony Robinson was out of the squad, but he hadn't done anything and he conceded quite early. So he was on 2 points and it was looking quite bad, especially against the Trippier owners. But then he scored and he went from 2 to 11 in one action because he got 6 points for a goal as a defender, and then he also got 3 bonus. So probably better that he started as a fullback because he probably would have been taken off had he started as a winger. So I guess that's worked out quite well. Yes, I know everyone told me about Palmer, but at the end of the day, he got 3 points. He actually got more than Cliver, which is probably where else I would have gone. And I won on the Murphy versus Barnes one, so quite happy with that as well. Luis Diaz probably could have gotten a bit more, but can't be upset about a goal. Salah got his open play goal, which is good for him. He got a bonus point, which is great for him. And of course, Cunha stole the show, having a hand in all 3 of the goals that Wolves scored. So overall, went quite well. Of course, it could have been better if I had Trippier, but also could have been worse if I didn't have Sessegnon, or if I went for Barnes. So hopefully Wood can add to that, but that's how we're looking at the moment. So hopefully MBEUMO doesn't do anything later, but it might be, I might need him to blank today, but I might need him to do a bit more in the upcoming weekend because we have some transfers to discuss. So into the transfer plans, and as you can probably tell by the title, I am considering selling Saka. So if we, obviously hindsight is a wonderful thing, but if we were to go back in time, in Game Week 33, which was supposed to take place after the second leg at Real Madrid, Arsenal were playing Ipswich and Crystal Palace, and then they were going to host PSG. And then of course in Game Week 34 there was a blank and we didn't really need him anyway. So essentially it was about owning Saka for Game Week 33. I guess you can call it a good defensive move because of course if he was to go off in the double game week against Ipswich and Crystal Palace, it would have been damage. But essentially I've used one free transfer to own Saka for one game week, and now I'm thinking of taking him out because of course in Game Week 35 it is going to be in between the 2 semi-finals of the Champions League. And given that Arsenal are currently 1-0 down in the Champions League semi-final, and of course they travel to PSG next week, there's massive question marks over whether Saka will start. So probably should have just gone straight for MBEUMO given the fixtures that he has, and of course he did score 18 points in Game Week 33. Of course it doesn't matter who was playing in Game Week 34 because we're going to have a free hit in the first place, but a bit of hindsight, probably should have just gone for MBEUMO in Game Week 33, but that's the game. But anyway, looking at going forward, I do think I probably will be taking Saka out this week. Hosting Bournemouth, It's okay. It's 4 days after, and it's 4 days after the first leg of the semi-final. But I just think Nwaneri's going to have to start playing some minutes at some point anyway. That's why I was against him in the first place around game 30 when people went for him. Of course, Palmer flopped, so it didn't matter. But Palmer should have probably done a little bit more. Of course, he did assist it against Tottenham, so it's not been a complete waste. But we're not talking about Palmer. We're talking about Saka. And yeah, I do think Saka has to come out. And of course, Arsenal's fixtures aren't even that good anyway. It's Bournemouth at home, then it's Liverpool away, then it's Newcastle at home. Of course, Southampton away is great on the last day, but you know, leading up into that, I don't think it's worth owning him. So probably should have not got him in the first place, but didn't want to miss the party, I guess. So I am thinking of doing Saka to MBEUMO. We'll probably confirm that transfer tomorrow. So I haven't made it yet, but that's what I'm thinking at the moment. So into the team selection, and David Raya hosts Bournemouth in between Arsenal's two Champions League semi-finals against PSG, with the Gunners trailing 1-0 before their trip to Paris for the second leg next Wednesday. There are 4 days either side of this league fixture, so rotation is expected. But with on-loan goalkeeper Neto ineligible to face his parent club, and the only other goalkeeper in the Arsenal squad being Setford, a youth player, Raya should be good for a start here. The Cherries have been fairly blunt up front in recent times, finding the net just twice in their last 3 league games. Daniel Munoz hosts Champions League hopefuls Nottingham Forest for Monday Night Football. Not expecting Crystal Palace to keep a clean sheet here, so hopefully the Colombian wingback can add to his 4 goals and 5 assists this season. Another wingback that has a few attacking returns in Aaron Wan-Bissaka gets his first start since joining the squad in Gameweek 30's wildcard. I had of course hoped to use him in Gameweek 33 with bench boost, as West Ham were hosting Southampton, but he was out injured and West Ham didn't keep a clean sheet anyway, as they conceded, so it was all fine. West Ham host a Tottenham Hotspur side though, who may be distracted by their Europa League semi-final against the Norwegian side Bodo Glimt, with the first leg taking place later today and the second leg this time next week. Playing as wing-back in Gameweek 34 against Brighton, the former Manchester United man took 2 shots in the box and he also created 2 chances, so hopeful for some returns here. Gvardiol hosts Wolves as Manchester City look to close out their top 5 position in their search for Champions League qualification. The Croatian has had no attacking returns for 12 game weeks, but he reminded us all of his goal-scoring touch in the FA Cup semi-final over Forest on Saturday, nodding in his 6th goal of the season in all competitions. They also kept a clean sheet, so if it was the Premier League that would have been a massive haul, maybe 15 points, but it's fine. Let's just tell ourselves he's warming up, as Manchester City have actually shored up their rearguard in the league as well, with 3 clean sheets in the last 5, and considering that only Everton, Chelsea and Leicester scored less goals on the road in 2025, we could be hopeful of a clean sheet here, but I'm not counting on it, because Wolves are in great form as we're going to discuss. Bryan Mbeumo gets a start in his first week in the squad, if we sell Saka, which I'm fairly sure we will, and he hosts a Manchester United side that may also be distracted by their Europa League semi-final against Athletic Bilbao. The Cameroon international is the 2nd highest scoring player in home matches this season, and only Salah has more points overall than the Bees talisman. But while United are expected to rotate, they have been restricting opponents to chances. In fact, apart from the game against the top 5 hopefuls in Newcastle, where they lost 4-1 of course, the Red Devils have conceded less than 0.69 XG in the last 4 games, not including that Newcastle game. Speaking of Salah, the one player with more points than Bryan Mbeumo this year in FPL, the Egyptian king overtook Sergio Aguero to take the 5th spot in the Premier League's all-time goal-scoring standings, with his goal in the 5-1 against Spurs last week, securing the 2024-25 Premier League title. So, congratulations to Liverpool for an incredible season. Speaking during the celebrations, Mohamed Salah stated that he's gunning for the goal involvement record, so there's no reason to sell the forward just yet. But travelling to a Chelsea side also in the top 5, I don't think it's the best fixture to captain. Of course, he did score an assist in the reverse at Anfield, but I'm not even going to give him the vice because Chelsea have actually only conceded 3 goals in their last 6 home matches, so neither of these two can be my captain. Morgan Rogers welcomes Fulham in the Saturday early kickoff. Aston Villa suffered semi-final heartbreak at the hands of Crystal Palace, but they remain firmly in the race for top 5 and will be hoping to bounce back. The Villains have actually won each of the last 5 home games against Fulham, a run that stretches back to the Championship in 2016, and they'll be hoping to secure their 6th successive home win in the Premier League this weekend. Villa have also scored at least 2 goals against Fulham in each of the last 4 meetings in the league, and each of Villa's last 10 games in all competitions have featured at least 3 goals, so hopefully we're treated to an open game. Morgan Rogers himself has returned 4 goals and an assist in the last 4 game weeks, so hopefully he can return here. Kevin De Bruyne had no part to play in Manchester City's win over Forest in the FA Cup semi-final, which is hopefully an indication that the Belgian was resting in preparation to start against Europe's most informed side, with Vitor Pereira's side having won each of their last 6 league matches. It actually took a 95th minute John Stones winner to secure all 3 points in the reverse, which is obviously when they were not in this form, and also scored in each of their last 11 fixtures, so this will be no walk in the park for sure. So also not thinking of captain Kevin De Bruyne. Jean-Philippe Mateta is the man of the moment for Crystal Palace, having scored an absolute peach of a goal against Arsenal off the bench, and then he put in a complete number 9's performance as he toyed with Aston Villa's defence at Wembley, also laying on an assist for Ismaila Sarr before missing a penalty, but it didn't matter as, of course, Crystal Palace ran out 3-0 winners. He now hosts Forest on Monday Night Football with Daniel Munoz, and the Tricky Trees have actually had a bit of a wobble recently, losing 4 of their last 6 away games in the league, in addition to losing 3 of their last 4 in all competitions, of course, including the FA Cup semi-final that Forest lost also. So hopefully we get a corner flag getting kicked by Big JP. No forward has more FPL points than Alexander Isak, and he's just 2 points shy of the 200-point mark. The Magpies travel to Brighton in what should also be an open game, as the Seagulls conceded at least 2 goals in each of their last 6 league matches, but they've also scored at least 2 goals in 8 of their last 10 in the league, so this is why Burns on the bench. Since game week 24, so 3 months to the date today, only the promoted sides have conceded more goals, both overall and in home matches, than Brighton, and they also did manage to leak 2 against Leicester at home recently. So considering that Newcastle managed to score at least twice in 5 of their last 6 league matches, I'm hoping that the Swede is involved, and he currently has an armband. And last but not least, Omar Marmoush has serious home confidence in the Premier League. All of his attacking returns have been at the Etihad Stadium, so that's 6 goals and an assist that he won when he won the penalty for Erling Haaland in 6 games. So while he's a great option, I think the biggest ceiling this week is probably Isak, given just how open Brighton have been and also the fact that Newcastle are fighting for the top 5. So that's the team for this week. If you have any questions, please drop any questions into the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram or Twitter, and I'll be sure to answer them before the deadline tomorrow at 6:30 London time, or UK time. So make sure you don't miss the deadline. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak soon.